San Diegan Pat Smith joins us here. Pat, welcome to the show.
Hi there.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
September 11, you're never going to forget it. Last year, 2012, your son Sean died in that attack in Benghazi.
Yes.
He was how old?
34.
And we now know a little bit more about that, but we don't know a lot about Sean. He grew up right here, didn't he, in San Diego?
Yes, he did. He went to Mission Bay High School.
And then where?
Then he went into the Air Force.
And he served how long in the Air Force?
Until it was, he was with Special Ops over there. I don't know, until he was finished there, and then he went into the State Department.
Yeah. So you didn't hear much about the Air Force stuff then, a little secret, right?
Well, I did hear a little bit. You know, I went to visit him when he was in Okinawa.
Yeah.
And he was working with some kind of Korean games that they were doing over there. And he had a couple funny stories to tell about that, but that was then.
That was then. Then he went into the State Department.
Yes.
And what was he doing there?
Information management.
So he was a kid in Claremont, right?
Yeah, of course he was.
Yeah, and he went. And this is your only son, by the way, right?
My only child.
Your only child. Well, it's a sad day. I can't get my arms around how it must feel, because I got two sons, and I just can't even imagine what would happen.
You cannot imagine. You cannot imagine.
Yeah. Well, thinking about, though, his life, he was there that night and obviously doing his job and working with that ambassador under terrible circumstances. What do you think the questions that remain unanswered are?
Why was there no security there? And there was security there, and it got pulled. I want to know why. I pretty much know why. I pretty much know everything that did happen, but I have no proof of most of it. And they sacrificed him for their own political gains. I don't like that. I don't think anybody in this United States could ever possibly like something like that. But that's what happened.
What was the political gain to be gained by the death of these Americans?
That would all be supposition on my part. I could probably suppose it for you if you want.
Well, what do you think? I mean, you've been close to this now. People have been talking to you.
Yes.
You've gotten some insight. What do you think happened?
God, I think they were trying to keep the Arabs or those people. I think they wanted to cleanse everything over there and show how nice we were, and that we don't, and that we trust them and we like them all, and so they pulled all of their security out of there. I think that's what happened, because I think then Hillary or whoever it is that was going to go in there wanted to go and say, see how wonderful we are? We trust you so much.
Misplaced trust.
Yes. As I said, though, that's all supposition on my part, plus the fact that I got a lot of information from outside sources, because the government will not talk to me.
And there is a fraternity of these folks in America. You don't leave people behind. In the military and the State Department, they have a tradition. You don't leave people behind, and we did leave people behind.
Yes, we did.
And
stopped them, and they stopped them from getting help.
Yes.
They were told to stand down. Even when some of our people said, no, we're not going to just stand down, we're going to go, they were still told to stand down, and they were called back.
And then Glenn Doherty and Tyrone Woods lost their lives as well, because there wasn't support.
My son, it was too late for him. He was killed almost immediately.
Yeah.
Probably destroying records. I don't know. He was with Stevens.
Yeah. Chris Stevens, the ambassador.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, today the president spoke a little bit. He was doing a press conference with David Cameron, the UK Prime Minister.
He speaks a lot. He
speaks a lot, again today, on this subject, so let's watch a little bit of what he said today.
Okay.
Here's what we know. Americans died in Benghazi. What we also know is clearly they were not in a position where they were adequately protected. The day after it happened, I acknowledged that this was an act of terrorism. And what I pledged to the American people was that we would find out what happened, we would make sure that it did not happen again, and we would make sure that we held accountable those who had perpetrated this terrible crime.
Pat, you watched the president, and he made the same promises he made. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to find out who did it. We're going to, get the perpetrators.
He had his arm around me as I was crying on his shoulder, and he promised me. He promised me. I kept telling him, please, I've got to know what happened. And he says he would get back to me, and he did not, and none of his people got back to me. In fact, all they did was tell me I'm not a member of the immediate family.
They told you that?
I've got it in writing.
How could they say such a thing? You're the mother.
You know that, and I know that. But I'm not a member of the immediate family.
You have that in writing?
I have it in writing.
That's just unbelievable. Well, aside from those empty promises that are now, what, 8, 9 months old,
yes.
Here's another thing he said today.
If anybody out there wants to actually focus on how we make sure something like this does not happen again, I am happy to get their advice and information and counsel. But the fact of the matter is, these 4 Americans, as I said right when it happened, were people I sent into the field. And I've been very clear about taking responsibility for the fact that we were not able to prevent their deaths.
We were not able to prevent their deaths. What's your reaction to that?
Bull feathers. I know they could have. I know that they could have. I can't prove a lot of it, but I know.
You've been told by people?
Yes, many, many SEALs called me. Many SEALs. And I've got people in my family that are closer in the government, much closer. And they told me. And all they could tell me is that, I'm sorry, it's just, all they could say is, it's too high up. We can't tell you anymore. It's too high up.
Last week, of course, there were these famous hearings, House Oversight Committee, and
yes.
Darrell Issa was, and I'm sure you've talked to Darrell before. Your reaction from the testimony, Mr. Hicks there was, he's a Hillary voter, he's an Obama voter, he's a Democrat voter, and there he was, I thought, telling the truth. Did you?
Oh, absolutely. He was crying. It was so hard for him to talk. He was crying. And the same thing with Nordstrom. The military man wasn't crying. He was too military.
Yeah.
He just quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're treating us awful. They're treating all these people off. They were doing their job, and they were doing it well, and they were just abandoned. They were told to deal with it. That's not right. That's not my government.
Yeah.
Though whoever did that has to go. They have to.
Who do you think is responsible ultimately? I mean, the president's taken responsibility, he said.
Sure, they all are.
Yeah.
Hillary even took responsibility.
Yeah.
But they don't take responsibility. I'm afraid that this is going to keep on going. We've got our other sons and daughters out there.
Yes, we do.
They're going to be abandoned also, if they have not already been. People have to write. They've got to do something. They've got to get these people out of there that are making these decisions. They're the wrong decisions. I don't like them making decisions for me or my country. They're wrong.
Now, yesterday, of course, had to be a terrible day for you. It's Mother's Day.
Oh, yes.
And you had a message for Hillary. Yes, I saw this on the tube yesterday.
That came just suddenly. I didn't plan on that. But it was Mother's Day, and I wanted to wish Hillary Happy Mother's Day. She has her daughter. I don't have my son because of her. And I know it's because of her, although I can't prove it. She claims that she knows nothing in her department. If she knows so much nothing, she shouldn't be there. There should be other people there. But she knows nothing. Nobody told her. And I can't believe that. I want to find out what happened. And I want to find out what happened so that I understand it and so that I believe it.
And the world understands it. And it's out in the open.
But not only that, what do they think that the other governments are thinking of us?
Yeah.
If I could see it this way, what do they think that they think?
Yeah.
This is terrible.